just have a really simple word for you today. I want us to make sure that our focus, what are we looking at today? How are we looking? Not so much what are we looking at, but how are we looking? And not only how, but where are we looking? This is the last of the great series. Next week we have with us John Okinda from Kenya. Do not miss that. You want to know also how cool God is and how cool things are? It was almost 20 years ago, not quite. It would have been 19 years ago. A little bush pastor came here on a Thursday night. There was about 75 of us. And he spoke, and we raised some money to help him buy, watch this, a bicycle so he could get from, remember, Becky? Village to village, church to church, a bicycle, okay? Just a guy we met, we kind of became friends with him. Well, of course, that's John Okinda. Now, and we've walked with him so closely for all these years, now he is president of PEFA is the name of a denomination over there. It's Elam in East Africa. PEFA has something like, I believe the number is something like 5,000 churches in Kenya and some 20,000 churches in East Africa. He is the president of that. This little bush pastor. When I stayed in his house the first time, no water, no electricity, no nothing. I mean, it was a shack with a dirt floor. He is the president and oversees 20,000 churches. Why do I tell you that? Well, it's cool for one. But it takes partnerships to change the world. And we're one of them. We're one of his dearest friends. And so it's really important every time I see him, I remind him, hey, John, I remember when you didn't have a bicycle, so let's keep your head kind of small. So anyways, he's with us this week. He's here Monday with the teens, Thursday night. Don't miss that. He'll be speaking. Chapel, he'll be speaking. And next Sunday, he'll be speaking. Okay, where are you looking? Where are you looking? Because here's the story. You got a great future. I'm telling you, you have a great future. But your focus, we said this the first week, your focus determines your future, period. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. You can argue with it, but I'm telling you it's true. Your focus determines your future. Where you look, there you will go. So where is your focus? Your focus determines your future. So please listen to this carefully. I want to say a couple things off the front. I am fully aware of hurts. I'm fully aware of emotional pain. I'm fully aware of difficult times. People don't necessarily know this or even think this. I actually have a degree, a bachelor's degree in counseling. So I understand counseling and all this stuff. And so I get all of that. So, and compassion and crying and weeping. So please don't do this. Don't come to me and send me emails and stuff and say, wow, you're the most uncompassionate, yada, yada, yada. I might be, but don't think that because of what I said today. So just understand there's a total place for grieving and the process. But what I want to show us today is in that process, whatever process you're in, I'm going to show you how to win through the process. Okay, how to win through the process. If I'm going through a rough time, good. You're going to go through it. See, that's why I don't do a lot of counting. Good that you're going through a rough time. But I'm going to show you how as you go through the process, as you go through the difficulty, as you go through the grieving, there is victory. Some people never experience the victory because they don't know how to go through the process. I'm going to show you how to go through the process today, and it determines on where you're looking. So there's 4 ways you can look. I put up my little Sesame Street thing there, because this is my favorite little thing. This is the graphic that we did not design. You like that? In, out, up, and down. I went to Tricia this week, and I said, hey, not this week. I went to a Friday afternoon, and I said, man, I need a graphic that says in, out, up, and down. And she looked at me like, yeah, right. And so she, as a joke, pulled up this graphic. I think I'm going to use this. So here's our finest graphic. In, out, up, and down. I'm going to show you that these 4 words, and I want you to write them down. You're going to have homework tonight. But if you're looking in, out, up, or down, however you're looking determines your life. So let's just run through them. In. Let's go to Mark chapter 8. And verse 34. Mark 8:34. Says this. He called the crowd to him along with his disciples and said, "If anyone come after me, he must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for me and for the gospel will save it. What good is it for a man to gain the whole world, yet forfeit his soul?" Watch this. Here's what Jesus is saying here. He says, you try to save your life, you're going to lose it. What he's saying here, and I want us to get this, if our focus is in, right? If I am totally focused on this guy right here, my focus is right here, right? The old, what do they call it? Some people say it's navel Christianity. Whoop. Right? That's all I see, sitting here staring at my belly button. Just newsflash, ain't gonna work. If your focus is in, you're gonna get tripped up. You're just gonna get tripped up. If you're looking in, you will soon be stuck looking down. I want all of you right now to look at your belly button. Huh? You're so disobedient, you won't do it. You're like, I'm not doing it, it's a trick. When you look inward, you'll get stuck looking down. The people who have their focus on themselves eventually just are down. Not going to work. If you get in a difficult situation, if your focus goes this way, listen, you're just going to stay in that situation. You just are. And you say, well, come on. No, listen, you will. You just will. You will find out that you're basically like an onion. And when you keep looking inward, there's nothing there. There's nothing. You're going to find a lot of junk. You're going to find a lot of questions, not answers, if we're focusing inwardly. Listen, I have walked with so many people through difficult situations, and I'm telling you, I am so impressed with so many people with how they walk through difficulty. And the ones who make it, they experience pain, they have difficult seasons, they have difficult relationships, all these things. But they do this, of course, but they don't get stuck like this. At some point, and this is why you have to have friends, at some point somebody needs to go up. And you have to see something besides yourself. So the question is, are you looking in? And if you're stuck looking in, it won't turn out well. What's the opposite of in? The in, of course, out. So maybe there's something about looking out. Let's go to John chapter 4. I'm just trying to cruise through these babies. You ready for this? John chapter 4 says in verse 35, Jesus says, "Do not say 4 more months, and then the harvest. I tell you, open your eyes and look at the fields. They are ripe for harvest." Here's 2 options. You can stare at yourself. And let me tell you, when you stare at yourself, if somebody says, "Hey, how are things going?" your answer will always be, eh. Not much is good going to happen when my focus is just on me. But watch this. When you lift up your eyes and look, you'll see a harvest. It's out there. It's out there. I'll dare venture to say this. There's always a harvest. Sometimes the harvest is easier to pick. I'll get that. I mean, I've walked through seasons of revival. It's really easy. I've walked through seasons of a little dryness. The harvest is always there, though. The problem is a lot of times I think the harvest is not there, revival's not there because we're doing this. If we do this and look out, we'll see the harvest. You watch this, and I've seen this so much. My grandfather was, from a young age, like 40, let's say, he contracted rheumatoid arthritis. And by the time I knew him, which he was probably in his 40s, he was never really fully, couldn't do much, and by the time he died at age 70, rheumatoid arthritis will just cripple you, and it got in his brilliant mind, but just got crippled. Well, I learned from him at a young age that, one thing I never spoke to my grandfather about, he never told me about his pain. He never focused on it. It was always out there, and he's looking out there, and he's got this out there, and that out there, and that out there. Listen, 24/7, he was in pain. But he somehow was able, now he didn't pretend he wasn't sick. I mean, he did all kinds of stuff. He had like 5 hip replacements and 6 knee replacements. How did he have 6 knees? That's an odd thing. But he was able to look out and see things. The harvest is there if we look out. If you look out. You got to look out. And even when you testify about God, this is why, tell stories about India. Well, you got to look way out. Yep, but you can look out. Tell stories. We might have, I'm so hoping he comes, but I shouldn't tell you. But there's one guy who might be coming to this dinner who's like one of the coolest guys in the nation, and he might be here. So pray that he does. He's like really cool. He's on like all the news things and, NBC and all that stuff interviews him. So he might, I probably should have even said that. I'm probably getting in trouble with Ann. But I'm hoping he comes for this dinner. But you start looking out and you're seeing these things. You're seeing the things happening and you're seeing, maybe you don't even know a teenager, but you're seeing, what if like, I don't know, whatever, 10 young people come in and just start saying, God did this and he did that. Oh, how do you see that? You look up. You look up. You got to look up. The harvest is there. You'll see it. If you look out, you've got to look out. Don't get stuck in. Look out, for the harvest is indeed ripe. Okay, the other two. Down and up. Looking down. I like this one. Psalm 43:5 says, you know this verse. I'll probably say it before I can find it. The psalmist is speaking. There it is. He says, why are you downcast? Or why are you cast down? Who's he speaking to? His soul. Who's that? That's him. He's speaking to himself and says, why are you so downcast? What's the matter with you? Do you ever have conversations like this? If you don't, you should. He says, why are you so downcast, O my soul? Now, if the soul were to speak back, he probably had reasons, okay? Don't think he wasn't like, I don't know, I guess I'm just No, it was probably like, well, people are chasing me, they're trying to kill me, I'm supposed to be this, I'm not, my future didn't pan out. There's a whole list of things. But so all the lists of why you're downcast, he says, why are you downcast, O my soul? And then I love what the psalmist says to himself. He says, put your trust in God. So watch this. The inference is there will always be opportunities for us to look down. You got to hear that. You don't need to look for a reason to look down. There's always a reason to look down. Always. But the way to not look down is trust and is faith and is hope in something up. Is up. It doesn't, again, I preface this whole thing with saying it is okay to go through times of grieving. It's okay. Those are all fine. It's okay to struggle. This is not an anti-struggle message. This is, while you're down, don't look down. Don't look down. I'm down, okay? I'm sad. We've all gone through sorrow. I'm not going to pretend I'm not. I need time to grieve. I need that. But while I'm here, I'm not just going to look internal and I'm not going to look down. I am going to put my hope in God. And so where are we looking determines where we will be going. And so this downward look, and I'm as guilty of it, maybe not as anybody, but I'm as guilty of it as that. And this is, I really think this says something more than just the literal. We are in a culture that is literally always looking down. Always. Because, we're obviously staring, this is how we walk. This is how we watch TV now. This is how we drive our cars. We're always looking down. I actually think there's something spiritual about that. I think even to make a demonstration, I would advise you of this. Just do this and do this. It'll avoid some traffic accidents, but it'll also change your thing. Watch this. Those of you who have been in Israel, you know what you don't see in Israel? You don't see this in Israel. This doesn't happen in Israel. Do you know why? You saw it. People aren't, oh no, Israel invented all this stuff. Listen, you think you have technology, up it 10 times, that's Israel. So it's nothing wrong with that. The reason they don't look down, one time I was there, I've been there twice, and both times I've had unique things. But when we were there the one time, there was a knife antifa going on. And so ladies and young girls from Palestine were actually stabbing people. So watch this. If you're walking down the street and that person might stab you, I mean, your Twitter feed better be pretty good to make you want to stare at that. It's called situational awareness. It's a real spiritual principle here. Situational awareness when they walk. A Jewish person is trained to walk aware of their situation. They're always walking like this. They're looking at people. They're looking at this. They're profiling. They're looking at that. They're suspecting this. They're looking here. They're always aware. Why? Because at any moment the enemy could come at them. The enemy doesn't wear a ski mask. Could be anywhere. Watch the spiritual principle there. When you're doing this, why so downcast, O my soul? When you're doing this, guess what? Totally open to the enemy. Totally open to the enemy. And you don't know how the enemy is going to come, but I assure you this, if you're like this, you'll never see him come, ever. Why so downcast, O my soul? Put your hope in God. Okay, put your hope in God. Don't be staring down. You're so vulnerable for the enemy. Watch this. When you're walking and you're stuck down, please be around a friend who will go, "Ugh." That's what the body does. It doesn't say, suck it up, baby, you don't have a problem. It's not that. That's kind of how I was raised, so if you wonder where I came from, I joked in the first service, I said, man, nobody ever had sympathy on me if I was hurt. They just get up. Or you're probably raised like that, weren't you? You hurt your leg. Was it broken? It's not broken. Get up. Get back in the game. And if I wasn't throwing up with viable proof, I never stayed home from school. So this is not that. So we will validate somebody's difficulty, but we don't let them stay in the vulnerable position where they're going to get attacked. We will walk with them. We'll help them lift up. And you know what? If their head keeps drooping, well, at least I'm going to be looking. That's what the body of Christ does. Because there will be a time coming when that head lifts up, mine goes down, and I'm going to need it the other way. And so why so downcast? Lift it up. And so the last thing, so down is trouble. What did I say about that? When you look down, you miss it all and trip and fall. It sounds really corny. I did not intend for that to rhyme until I said it. It's a bad rhyme. I got that Sesame Street thing going on. Okay, the last one. Luke 21, verse 28. 28 is Jesus is talking about all the trouble that's coming at the last days and wars and rumors of wars and pestilence and bad things and this thing and that thing. And he basically goes on to describe, if you read Luke 21, it's not good. Not good. Now, the natural thing to do when everything's bad is to, what does Jesus say after saying all these things? Now, when these things begin to happen, look up. Lift up your heads because your redemption draws near. When you're going through, I mean, that's really, before Jesus comes, that's the bad stuff, really bad stuff. So whatever we're going through now, although it seems bad, it's not that bad. So he says, even during this horrific stuff, this tribulation, this whole thing, when all of that happens, look up. Lift up your heads because your redemption's coming. That's how you walk this world out in victory. This is how, watch this, I don't care what you're going through. I do this at funerals. My favorite funeral verse. How about that? You probably don't have a favorite funeral verse. I do. I did a funeral this week for a lady, 106 years old, baby. That's awesome. She's not up there. I'm looking at her niece. Actually, is that you, Shelley? I really can't see in the balcony. Yes, it is you. There it is. The 106 years old. So I did a funeral for somebody 106. That's the oldest person I've ever done a funeral for. But the verse I always read is John 14. Jesus says, do not let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God. Trust also in me. In my Father's house are many rooms. If it weren't so, I would have told you. He says, I'm going there to prepare a place for you, so I will come back and take you to be with me. Watch this. If you got a hold of John chapter 14, verse 1, 2, 3, and 4, you have defeated the world. And you say, well, I'm heading for a rough 10 years. Well, you might be heading for a rough 10 years, but the 10,000 years after that, you're going to be okay. That's why we look up. It's coming. When you defeat death, you'll get through it. How will you get through it? You keep looking up. Up. Keep looking up. I'm telling you, if you do anything, maybe you just need to do this if you're going through a rough time in the morning. Just symbolically sometimes say, stop that, look up. And then when you see your friend, the old Eeyore complex, just kind of, some people you'll grab the hair and pull them up. That's okay too. But some people you'll gently take the chin and just say, look up. Look up. Your redemption draws nigh. I'm telling you, through tribulation, through turmoil, through persecution, you'll see the redemption. It will come. I promise you. It might come in the next world, but I promise you it will come. It might come tomorrow, but it will come. But you will only see it if you look up. Look up, look up, look up. So here's my homework for you, and we're just going to leave from here now. But listen, we got a great future. And it's one of the greatest things, one of the greatest messages of Christ is future. Everybody's worried about their future and nobody can control it. And we have a great future, period. And we can walk in that great future. Oh, look at that. As you look up, you will see a lot that is out there. That's a good one. It's good. But as we walk this thing out, as we go through this, just put those words down. In, out, up, and down. And even every day, just say, how am I doing? Where am I looking? Where's my focus? If my focus is in, it's not going to turn out good. If my focus is out, you'll see some really cool things. If my focus is down, you're probably going to get beat on by the enemy. If my focus is up, I will see the Lord high and lifted up. So write those things down, even on a daily basis. Just remind yourself, how am I doing on this? In, out, up, down. Because the future is great. It's a great future. It's a great message to speak to people. It's a great encouragement for everybody. And so get your head up. Look up. Your redemption draws nigh. We have victory. We will win. The future is really, really great. So I just thank you, Lord, for hope. I thank you that in difficult seasons, we're not going to pretend there's not difficult seasons, but even in difficult seasons, we declared your faithfulness today. It's good. And we have hope through it all. Have us be a people that you have lifted up our head and that we look out and see the harvest. We look up and see the harvester. Have that be what defines us as a people, as a person, as families, as a church, whatever it would be. Because, Father, you have truly, truly have great things in store, and you're looking for people who want to see it. And so we thank you, Jesus. Walk with us closely this week. Amen, amen, amen.